And first, I'm just going to show you kind of the homework that we were working on, which is detailed in this README, was to do this right here. Right? Recreate these guys. Huh, they show up different at different widths. Trip out on that. That's cool. All right, so one solution. We saw this one in class. Kapow. Saw that one last week. Next solution. Kapow. And, you know, just for fun, not for production. And I say not for production because I'm using VW in there. Next one, kapow. And so SVG's in there. Very crisp. Love it. Love SVGs. And then next one, footer. So I just put my footer down at the bottom and left that up top. Yeah.
How did you get the little...
Yeah. That took a little time. I'm going to show you that. We like that, don't we? It's like, oh, we got a spinner. You're not officially creating websites until you know how to put in a spinner. And the next one, just the thing on the left. And I don't know if I finished this one. I got pretty close. I think I did finish it. So really nice homework challenge, and I really appreciated it. Just myself building these out because it's cool to okay, these are some common design patterns we see on the web, and let's replicate them and know how to use them. How many people got pretty close? How many people made no headway whatsoever? You didn't even start it.
I've been out of town, thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Honestly, the first chance I had to even get online and do anything relating to school was yesterday.
I know the feeling. So we looked at transitions already, and just a little bit of a reminder of how transitions work. So we have here an ID whatever, and I hover over it and we have a transition, right? And the way we did that was we have whatever styling and then whatever hover and background color changes. And for whatever, we say transition property all, transition duration 500 milliseconds, transition timing function, ease in, ease out. And we could have said that all with the shorthand, transition 3S all 5S ease. Right? We could have put it in delay if we wanted. But delay property duration timing function is a transition. If we look up MDN transition, we see that it's transition property, shorthand property for transition property, transition duration, timing function, delay. So we have transition property, duration, timing function, delay. So those are the four that are associated with transition. Okay? Just a reminder about transition because we're going to look at animation. And animation is transition is an animation, but it's just easier to write. Animation gives you more fine-grained control. Who's worked with animations before? Anybody? Cool. So I put together a little README file here. And we'll look at transition versus animation kind of at the end. But basically, again, animation is just more fine-grained control. Transition is just more like quick and dirty. Right? I just need something to kind of fade in, fade out. Transition. I need to move things at different times, different places, animation. Okay, but I put together this little README file, and README files look great on GitHub. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and I don't know about you guys, 30 days. Like you know, I'm starting to get a little addicted. It'll be like I don't know what the situation might be. I'll be in the hospital. I'll be like, I just one commit. Let me make one commit. My streak. Right. All right. So you guys should get your streak going. Maybe it's because I'm a child of the '70s. I want a streak. I don't know. And so SVG animations right here, and the README. And look at that README. Doesn't it look nice? So here's CSS animation, and shorthand for the following properties. Let me zoom in for the old people in the crowd. And it's a shorthand for animation name, animation duration, animation. I have no idea where I learned to say it that way. Animation iteration count, animation direction, animation timing function. So that's the same as like transition, right? We had a transition timing function. We had a transition delay. We had, what else do we have in transition? In transition, we had delay, duration, property, timing function. Here we have delay and duration. Here, look at this. We could do this. Duration, green, delay, green. And then we also had, in addition to delay and duration, property and timing function. We have timing function. And I don't see a property there, but what is transition property is like all test one, animation, transition property, all. Inherit, sliding vertically. What did this one do again? What can we, if you, is used to specify the names of CSS properties to which a transition effect should be applied. So CSS properties, the names of, specify the names of CSS properties to which transition should be applied. So let's just look at that real quickly just to refresh my memory. Humor me. So transition property all. I thought that was like okay, that includes background color. So the names of CSS properties to which transition effect should be applied. So property value. Remember, we have a rule set. Here's the rule set. It's got the selector, has a declaration block with declarations. Declarations are properties and values. So here we have a property, and it's saying that we could specify the names of CSS properties. CSS properties. So I could, if I wanted to, do instead of all background color, and that should work. Cool. But if I did color, it just switches on hover, no transition, right? The hover's still kicking in, but there's no transition. So I could do background color, or I could do all. So I could set which this is being applied to. Does that make sense? Okay? And so I'm just comparing them here because here we had transition property, and I didn't see a property there, right? There's no property for animation. Because of animation, that kind of makes sense. In animation, we're going to see you define it. You define what the animation is going to be, and then you set. So that makes sense. So you set the animation name. Default value is none. The animation name specifies a list of animations that should be applied to the selected element. Each name indicates a keyframes rule that defines property values for the animation sequence. So here are some examples. Animation none, name none, test one, animation 4. So what are keyframes? That's a pretty important deal. So keyframes are, so in graphics, keyframes go back to like Disney days, maybe even before that. Because Walt would like say, here's where the scene starts, and then this is the way Mickey looks, and then he runs and he catches the ball, and here's how he looks when he catches the ball. And so there's one keyframe there, here's the other keyframe. Those are keyframes, 28 frames per second in the movie. And I want you, all you flunky interning, cartoonists, to draw the frames in between, right? And so he'd give like the keyframes, and then somebody else would draw all the frames in between. And so those are keyframes. You say what you want to have happen at one point. So here you can see animation name as change color. So then I have my keyframes for change color, and that change color is just a name I gave it. And I say, hey, at 0% the color's red. That's like one keyframe. At 100% the color's gold. Now draw the in between. Okay? So that's the animation, how that works. So you want to see that in action? So here's no animation. No animation. Okay, just the big circle with a hole in it. That's what do they call that in Zen? Who's a Zen person? Nobody? I thought Alan might be. You got the Zen ponytail. That's called a Zen open circle. It's Enzo. Enzo's pretty sweet. Hand-drawn symbolizes absolute enlightenment. The void. Pretty cool. All right, so here's the animation.
If you're looking at proper pronunciation, it's going to be onso.
I'm not, but thank you. Onso! No, I appreciate that. I'm just going for a humor moment. Onso! Ah, so. Also. Onso. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate your attention to detail.
I TA for the Japanese class. If you're going to start pronouncing Japanese, you're going to get a little irritated at mispronunciation. Got to make sure it's correct.
Arigato. Arigato. Arigato.
Go touch mashite.
What she says.
Keep going.
Let's keep going. So my CSS on this one is I say my animation name right here, right? And then at keyframes matching that animation name from to. I could also do from to instead of 0% 100%. So from red to gold, and my animation runs over 4 seconds, and the iteration count is infinite, so it runs infinitely. And so it's just changing the color. So we could continue to play with. That's cool, you know how to speak Japanese.
I'm not completely fluent, but I'm not a total ditz either. It's been actually teaching for the Japanese class has been a lot of fun. It's a very interesting language in how things work and proper means of talking to people.
How's that for onso? Nice, right? What's it make? Does it make you feel peaceful?
Not really. It's a bit distracting. It's like a constant. Okay, it's not relaxing. It's saying, what color will it come next? Curiosity.
It's like Hypnotoad on The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's hypnotizing. There is the code. There it is. It's hypnotizing.
Stay on this site. You'd be
That was
SEO
well.
Run it fast and maybe you can get somebody to have a seizure.
Try it right now.
Oh man.
I find it interesting just that, the light on the Mac, when the lid's closed, it's like the heartbeat. Anthropomorphism. All right, so that is animation name, change color, 0 to 100% red gold. Durations 4 seconds. Run infinite. Animation direction, alternate. So go up, come back. Go up, come back. Red to gold, gold to red. Red to gold, gold to red. To gold, gold to red. Red to gold. Gold to red. So that's that animation direction alternate. There's other settings you could put in on that. So here we have change color, red to gold, 4 seconds, infinite, alternate, ease in, ease out. So we added ease in, ease out, and that is a timing function. Kind of hard to see a difference there with that one. And then I have a challenge here. Make the ball go across the screen. You got to change the HTML to make that work too. Now if I was to do this and have it kind of doing that heartbeat change in color thing, you'd wipe all your brains. You'd achieve anso, emptiness. But here I think you could see the ease in and ease out. A little slow down, a little speed up, a little slow down, a little speed up. Yeah? You see what it looks like without enso? Ease in, ease out. No ease in, ease out. I think there's ease in, ease out on that one. I think I need to change this to none. No suggestions. Let's try none. Doesn't like it. Let's look it up. Linear. I want linear. So I can do linear. Because the default is ease. Here's linear. Linear, right? You can see there's no easing in, easing out there. It has its own Pong quality. We can go back to ease in, ease out. You can do this. We're not far from marching ants and blink, right? Some old, really cool design things from the early days of the web. And so once we know how to do that, here's what's up. And fill mode. So here's no fill. What's up? And it's over. Done. Or we could say, so that had no fill mode. Or we could say animation fill mode forward. Here there's no animation fill mode. Animation fill mode forward, we're just doing this once, means end in the state that you're at the end of the animation. Otherwise it just animates it, I'm done animating, and goes back to the way it was. Animation fill mode forward says end in the state in which the animation ended. Stay there. Right? So that's animation fill mode forward. Animation fill mode forwards. One of the great questions of the world. Is it forward or forwards? Animation play state. So we could do play state to pause and your animation won't run. Pretty straightforward. So we go back and look at our... I closed it, I guess. Our README file. We say, okay, here are the different, when we set an animation, here are the different, we can use the shorthand, but the shorthand is shorthand for all these other, what are these? They are CSS what? Rule sets, declarations, values, properties, selectors. These are properties, right? And then you'd set values to them. So you could say it's a declaration. So the animation is shorthand for all of the animation declaration is shorthand for all these other declarations properties. Hello. So we do the name, we give it a name. You could give multiple names, and then this animation would run multiple keyframe events. So you give animation name, change color, and then create the keyframes, and you say what CSS starts out at and what it ends at. Probably a good idea to start out at whatever it is, right? So if my font's color red, start out at red. Otherwise, if it's blue, it'd go red, gold, right? That would be weird. And we could do from and to also. And then we could set animation duration. How long does it take to go from red to gold? And we could do animation iteration count. How many times do we want it to do that? And if we had multiple animations, we could, say 2, 0, infinite, because we had declared, like test 1 and animation 4 as the animations. So then we'd set the duration for multiples like 10 to 20, 30. So, or the iterations. And then we have direction. So that's the one where alternate, where it goes forward and it comes back, right? That was kind of cool. Normal is just 0 to 100. Reverse would be 100 to 0. Alternate, 0 to 100, 100 to 0, right? Alternate reverse would be 100 to 0, 0 to 100. And then we have the timing function, which is that ease in, ease out thing. And then the fill mode, which means when it's over, leave everything in the state that it ended in. That's forwards. I don't know what the hell backwards or both do. You can play with them. The play state, you could just set it to paused and then through JavaScript turn it to running, maybe, And then we have animation delay, means you could delay it a certain amount of time. Cool. So not super complicated. You think animation's going to be complicated. I was kind of like, oh, animation, okay, let me see if I can figure this out. And I was like, yeah, not too bad. Pretty easy, actually. It's just my own mental block that animation's going to be hard. But all you have to do is remember, give it a name, and then set it at keyframes, and 0% this, 100% that. And you could do 30% this, at 47% it's that. And you can put whatever CSS you want in there. So you can start thinking about some creative stuff. So here's a delay. I don't know if you want to see a delay. What's this delay do? It just delays when it launches what's up. And then here is here's an image. So I got a dilemma for you. Here's a dog, Okay, image of a dog. So my CSS I can't remember my dilemma. I think this will actually be fine. We'll see. We'll start with this one. So there's my dog. Cool. And I have transform, rotate 180 degrees. When I first did this, I was doing transform, rotate 360 degrees. And I was like, nothing happened. It's just still just an image of a dog. So rotated at 360 degrees. Reminds me of that old, who's the quipster from baseball? What's his name? Yeah, Yogi Berra quote. We're going to turn this team around 360 degrees. Great, you'll be going in the same direction. So that's just a CSS deal you could do, transform, rotate. And you can look up, can I use transform? And 89% browser support, so pretty good. I like 95, but I might be moving to 90. And so that rotated the dog 180 degrees. Transform, rotate. Rotates this image 180 degrees. And of course, when I rotate the dog, oh, here's my animation. Spinner. Duration 4 seconds. Linear. Infinite. 0 to 100%. Starts at 0 degrees. Rotates 360 degrees. We got rotation. Nice. That dog's going to puke soon. Bleh. So, can I do that with an SVG? There's my SVG. Here's my SVG. It's got icon and icon notch in CSS. Font size. Spinner is the animation name. 4 seconds. Linear. Do it infinitely. Transform, rotate 0 to 360 degrees. I've got spinner. Now your thing that you're rotating has to be perfectly circular. And you have to be perfectly centered when you create it. Mine's a little bit off. If I speed this up, that's too fast, it just trips you out. Look right at the top seam, right next to the top of the screen, you see a little bit of a wobble. You see it? Yeah. I'm like a pixel off from center or something. So you need to be perfectly centered and circular, otherwise you get a wobble. So that's rotating an SVG. And that's animation. Anybody have questions? So for that footer, put in my SVG in line. So that should look a little familiar now, right? And there's my symbol with the ID of spinner. And then down here, I say I'm going to use my SVG spinner. And then for icon and icon spinner in the CSS, I have the animation spinner, 2 seconds, linear, infinite, 0 to 360. I just left the other ones in here as a reminder what the other ones we're not using are. So now we've got sweetness. and it's an SVG, which I don't know, I think's better. All right. So that's CSS animations, and I still have this one to build, and this one, and this one, and this one. So let's do this together, or do you have any questions, or you want to do anything else? Okay, that's CSS animations.